Dr. Dennis Bielfeldt here with the Christ School of Theology. We are talking about philosophical underpinnings of the theological tradition. We're talking specifically about the movement from late medieval nominalism up until the advent of modern philosophy. We're talking about Occam, and last time we talked a bit about Occam's views on language and talked something about his views on knowledge. I'm going to finish with Occam here on his views on knowledge, talk a bit about metaphysics, and then onward. Then we'll leave the friendly shores of the Via Moderna, and we'll voyage outwards to the birth of modern science. Anyway, Occam claims that we have intuitive knowledge, right? We have intuitive knowledge of that which is immediately given to us, a type of what Russell would call knowledge by acquaintance. We have abstractive knowledge of propositions. Okay, so we have to abstract away from what is given to us propositionally, and we can have knowledge of one proposition and how it follows from another proposition. Now, so we have abstractive and intuitive knowledge, and our good friend Occam says, well, we can have no abstractive or intuitive knowledge of our souls. Now, some of you that know a bit of philosophy are probably fast-forwarding to Kant at this point, right? His parallelogisms of rational psychology and his treatment in the Critique of Pure Reason. But this is very interesting. We can have intuitive knowledge of our mental acts, so we have intuitive knowledge there, and that could be conceived as a secondary intention. But we don't have intuitive knowledge of our souls, the bearer of our thoughts. Now, just fast forwarding against Kant, remember Kant criticizes rational psychology for holding to the substance of a transcendental ego, and Kant says, well, there's only a bare I think. We can't get at the substance of the I. And of course, Occam said this long before Kant. We neither have intuitive nor abstractive knowledge of God, but we can know God, we can think about God. We can know something about the concepts, if you will, of God, conceptual knowledge. But we cannot know God in God's self either intuitively or abstractly. And that's about as far as I'm going to go into this at this point. I said we have some conceptual knowledge of God, but this is not quitative. This is not of God's whatness, quitative. On to Occam's metaphysics. Metaphysics concerns being, and being is existence for Occam. So he rejects a distinction between essence and existence, right? There just is the existence of particular things. We don't have essences. Now, you'll remember in the tradition, an essence was an ontological correlate of a real definition. And all of this comes out of Aristotle. And if you want to make people, philosophers in the 20th century, run away, at least in the 50s and 40s, 50s, and 60s, in the heyday of William Van Orman Quine's work, just say the word essence or essentialism, and they would run away in horror that one would think such a thing. Occam says that a substance is an individual about which we can know nothing except what is given in experience. While sensible qualities are distinct from substances, if you will, predicates are merely ways of referring to substances. A so-called universal, of course, they don't really exists, but if we're going to use the language, it's merely a signifying act of cognition. There are no independently existing things like whiteness, sheepness, hoarseness, or goodness. Individual things, substances and their sensible qualities, are distinct and independent of each other. Metaphysics here reminds me so much of the literature I read in the 20th century of external relations between substances and qualities. Matter is not pure potentiality, but just a physical body. Now that's big, right? Because for Aristotle, right, matter is a way of talking about that which is in potential to be formed. So, of course, Aristotle advocates hylomorphism, which is a philosophical view that says that everything that exists is formed matter. So you have to have something in potentiality to become a definite thing. Matter is thought in this deeper way as being the region of potentiality, if you will. Not so for Occam. Matter is physical body. Its form is just the way that the body is structured. And of course, with all of this, final cause ends up being rejected. Because there is no final cause, he rejects proofs that argue for God as a final cause. You remember how we talked about Scotus's proofs, and one was a proof from final causality. We presented only the efficient causal proofs. That was hard enough. But of course, he certainly advocated proofs for the existence of God using the category of final causality. His student, Occam, would have none of it, right? Occam suggests that there is no problem with an infinite regress, right, of efficient causes. So for anything that is, there is some cause why that is, and then there is some cause why that thing is, and some cause why that thing is. And of course, Occam has no problems doing this in the so-called inferi series in time. But also, if you were to think of an in-essa series, he would have no problems here. Although the very concept of an in-essa series becomes much more problematic when you get to Occam. So, this is where we are going from, this shore of late medieval nominalism. And now we'll move forward to years 1490 to 1550, the breaking point, where things change quite radically, and modern philosophy and our modern experience, if you will, is born. I'm Dr. Dennis Bielfeldt of the Christ School of Theology. We'll see you soon.